News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. Happy holidays to everybody as we celebrate Christmas weekend. Hopefully it's been a good one. You got your gifts and all. I'm Bob Sokoler, and we are here till the top of the hour with our Louisville Real Estate Show. You can reach me anytime at 376-5483 if you want to talk about getting your home on the market in 2022. Also here with us, Chuck Crosby, who's with the Crosby Law Offices. They do a great job, not only for closings, but also for wills or any other legal issues you might have. If Chuck doesn't do it, he knows someone who can get it done, and you can reach him directly at 499-6360. Also here, back by popular demand, Brad Lawler, who's owner of Home Team Inspection Service there, the #1 home team inspection service now, hopefully soon to be 7 years, hopefully in a row. And you can reach Brad. They come in as a team and they do an incredibly good job. And Chuck and I can attest to that because they've done work for us. You can reach them at 844-411-TEAM. We welcome both of you guys. Greg has the weekend off and we move forward. We've got your emails. We're doing our COVID show. And what that basically means is, instead of us being in the studio, we're using Zoom to do this. So as a result, you can see it, a rebroadcast of it immediately at LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. We'll show you to our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see the show in its entirety there. And you can see Chuck's big beard and the fact that he used it for a great event this past weekend, Saturday, for some kids. So that was great. He looks like Santa. We'll get to your questions in a second. First, this news in: rising home prices and shrinking inventories are pressing on affordability. The National Association of Realtors reporting home buyers are struggling to find a home to buy. We know that, and one that they can afford. The share of homes available for, and affordable for a housing and a household earning $100,000 has fallen considerably over the past 2 years. The NAR, the National Association of Realtors, reporting in October, home prices fell very little. In fact, for the most part around the country, 13% increase, while housing inventories fell 12% compared a year ago. And other news, this one, don't we wish we owned homes in Hawaii? The luxury real estate market is soaring to all-time highs, fueled by several factors, including pent-up demand from the coronavirus pandemic, record low interest rates, and rising equity markets. In the first 3 quarters of this year, homes valued at $3 million or more saw a volume rise of 235% compared with the same period in 2020. So that just goes to show you there are 16 luxury homes sold every week for the past 39 weeks in Hawaii. All to be there. That would be amazing. All right, let us go to your emails that came in. I've got a list of them, and we thank you for sending it in. Let's start with Chuck. Roxanne writing in. She's going through a divorce, but it won't be final for a couple of months. She just recently found a home that she'd like to buy. She doesn't think it's going to last too long in today's hot market, and she'd like to put an offer in, but she's right now concerned how to protect her interest and her ex not to have any part of it. So, Chuck, what are your thoughts legally? What can she do?
Well, she can talk to her divorce attorney. I can't give specific advice to a person in the midst of a divorce. However, it is a fairly common thing to see divorcing couples buy houses. Obviously, you have to have somewhere to live, right?
Right.
So there's a couple different ways to handle it. If you have if you're buying a piece of property, there is what we call dower and courtesy interests. Okay, that's a probate issue. So that if you're married and you own a piece of property in fee simple, which is as much as you can by yourself, your spouse is going to have an inchoate interest in that property. That is to say, if you were to die before the divorce is final, they get half the property. Okay, as a dower or courtesy. Courtesy is the male version of dower issue. There is no way to avoid that. The statute's very simple. You own a piece of property in fee simple, your spouse has that interest. So the spouse would have to, and this is how it's normally done. The spouse comes in and signs off on the mortgage document. Now, paragraph 13 of most mortgage documents say that if you're signing the mortgage, but not the note, that all you're doing is saying, hey, I'm co-signing any interest I have, and that's it. They're not borrowing money. They're not liable for the money. Everybody seems to think that a mortgage creates a debt. It doesn't. A note, a promissory note, is a promise to pay. You don't sign the promise to pay, you didn't promise to pay, so you owe nothing. The mortgage says if that note isn't paid, we get to take the house. Okay.
Yeah.
So all a spouse would be signing the mortgage for is to say, if the borrower doesn't pay the note, I don't mind if they take the house. Doesn't hit their credit report, doesn't do anything like that. But generally, paragraph 13 is the one that says, if you didn't sign the note, but you're signing the mortgage, you're not liable for any of the money, and you're only signing to subordinate your interest to the mortgage company. That's the normal way to handle it. Okay. Now, the abnormal way to handle it is that interest only attaches when it's fee simple. Joint survivorship, how most people take deeds with their spouses, etc., is not fee simple. That's a life estate that ends up in fee simple when someone dies. So, for instance, if my wife and I own a piece of property, it's in joint survivorship. We own it for our lives with remainder in fee simple to the survivor of them. That's the language that creates joint survivorship. That's not fee simple. Fee simple happens when I die. The other party gets it in fee simple. So that being said, if the still soon to be unmarried spouse goes on title in joint survivorship with mom, dad, friend, brother, sister, whatever, spouse doesn't have any interest. Now, if they're using, that's assuming that non-marital funds are being used, etc. Okay. That's why I can't ever speak to a specific issue related to divorce, because there's so many variables.
So boil it down to us for us in simple language so we all can understand.
There is no simple language for this. It's not, it's a rabbit you pull out of the hat. Your spouse is going to have to sign off on the mortgage if you're buying a house by yourself, period.
Is there a way for the closing attorney to put a quitclaim deed together so that it goes back into the person who actually wants the house's name, and that eliminates the other spouse?
No. Yes and no. If you're talking about, can the one spouse quit claim to the other spouse?
Yes.
No, absolutely not. That's like a snake swallowing its tail. The statute says if you own a piece of property in your name alone, fee simple, then your spouse has the interest. Well, if you quit claim your interest over to the other spouse, you just created that exact same situation.
Okay.
So it's just spinning your tail. That's why you would perhaps think about putting it in joint survivorship. Dower courtesy doesn't attach to joint survivorship. And then, but the person that you're on title with has to sign off on the mortgage.
All right.
And then you can quit claim from that person who went on title back to you. And once the divorce is final. So that's one way to go. But then again, if you're trying to use that method, mortgage companies typically don't recognize that because they have a checklist and et cetera, et cetera. They aren't interested in interesting legal theories. They want their boxes checked.
All right. We'll move on because I'm I've glassed over my eyes here. So let's move on.
There's no way to make that simple.
Okay. Danny buying a home, he's having it inspected. The agreement he had to sign from the home inspector says they do not inspect the roof, the furnace, irrigation. So he's asking, what good is a home inspection?
Well, that's a great question. I hope I'm not going down the same rabbit trail that Chuck just went down, but
Okay.
this is exactly why every buyer out there needs to understand what is included in the home inspection.
Okay.
In Kentucky and Indiana, we have to follow a very we have to follow 1 and 2 standards of practice. My company follows the American Society of Home Inspector standards. The other one is InterNACHI. Truth be told, they're nearly identical. But within the standards of practice, we can exclude items such as irrigation, roof. I don't know exactly how they would exclude the roof. I'm wondering if he's not looking at that saying that the inspector won't get on the roof. There is no requirement that a home inspector actually walks on the roof. So
Uh-huh.
that may be a different play on words there. We can inspect a roof from the ground with binoculars, from the eaves on a ladder, with the drone. We just have to say how we inspected it. So I don't know exactly how they would be getting away with not doing the roof, and the heating system. Again, that's all part of the scope of the home inspection. I don't know exactly how it would be excluded unless they have told them we're not going to do an invasive inspection, because we don't disassemble any of the components. We don't go all the way into the heat exchanger to see, whether or not those heat exchangers are cracked. So I think it may just be a matter of communication on the point that the buyer may not have understood exactly what the inspector was telling him as
Got
far
it.
as what the scope was.
We should point out that home inspectors basically look at all a variety of things at the house, and if they see something that raises a red flag, they will bring up the point that a specialist should be brought in. Am I right
Yeah,
about that?
that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the home inspection itself is completely a visual inspection. We don't disassemble anything. We don't tear anything down. We can't see inside walls. So sometimes specialists do have to be brought in if there are things that look like there may be a defect there that needs further evaluation.
Got it. Moving forward, Chuck, Richard has sent us an email. He says he signed an agreement to lease a home with an option to purchase at the end of 2 years. He gave the seller 10,000 up front, but now, for whatever reason, he wants to back out of the deal because of problems he's finding with the house. So can he do that since he's signed this, I guess, agreement, a legal agreement, and he gave the seller 10,000 bucks? Can he back out?
Say that one more time.
So he signs an agreement with an option to purchase at the end of 2 years.
Okay, so he's got a lease option going.
Option going, right?
Yeah.
Can he back out?
Yeah, but I guarantee that document says the money's non-refundable.
Got it. Once you give it up, and that may be where the point of his question is. He wants the money back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the document. Without seeing it, obviously, I don't know for certain, but every lease option I've ever seen, the option agreement will say the option fee is non-refundable.
We found, and it hasn't been recently, because most homes that are on the market will sell. The ones that are lease optioned are usually ones that they've got a problem, a power line near them, highway, whatever it might be that it's surrounding it. That's why it's being lease option. But we've also found that a lot of buyers were offering to do lease options because their credit may have been a little bit on the.
That's where I see it. Usually it's like they'll show up when you see the owner financing. That's typically what the owner means when saying owner financing is a lease option.
Yeah, but it's a risk for the seller who owns the property.
Absolutely.
And for the buyer, like in this case, Richard, if something happens, well, he's got a problem. He can't really get his money back. So, all right. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, the secrets to buying and selling homes when you have a pet, whether it's a dog or a cat. We've got a list for you. I think this might be rather helpful, whether it's for now or down the road. You want to listen to that. With us, Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices. You can reach Chuck and his crew. They do a great job. 499-6360. Also, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. You can reach them at 844-411-TEAM. You can reach me, Bob Sokoler, because we're continually looking to help you list and sell your home, and also to help you find and buy a home. You can reach me at 376-5483. And if you want to see some more reviews that have been written about us, go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you until the top of the hour. Thank you so much, Barbara Corcoran. We went up a couple of weeks ago and spent the day with her. Greg and I did, and had a great time. Our best wishes to everyone listening to us for the happy holidays and coming up a new year. With us here in the studio, Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices. You can reach Chuck at 499-6360. They do a great job for closings. Chuck's entertaining, and it's not just like a boring thing when you're signing. He makes sure you understand the documents. He also makes sure you're having a good time, and then you come away learning something about food or many of the other things that he is a specialist at. Also, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They're ranked the #1 home team inspection service for 6, hopefully soon, 7 years in a row. You can reach Brad at 844-411-TEAM. And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, to help you with your house, 376-5483. Son Greg is off today. All right. Tommy just recently bought a home in Bullitt County, Chuck, and has encountered a crazy problem. Crazy, he says. Tommy's 10-year-old son's bedroom is directly across the yard from a home where there appears to be, ready for this? There appears to be smoke, marijuana smoke, that sometimes finds itself going into the son's room. Other than closing Tommy's son's window, what legal steps can Tommy take?
Well, now you're going to start getting into scientific proof as to what constitutes marijuana smoke. If the people across, if it's like close enough to where the smoke itself will have an effect on the child, I'm sure there's a lot of things you can do. Probably start with calling the police. Certainly there's civil action that can be taken, suing them for creating a nuisance. But if it's just the scent, I'm not so sure there's a whole lot you can do other than perhaps call the aforesaid police and say, hey, we've got people committing misdemeanors over here. And maybe it's more than that. Maybe they're selling and growing. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of proof of a way to gather proof.
Right.
Okay,
I'm with you.
So you're saying that I smell marijuana. Okay.
He's smelling it. He sees, I guess, smoke coming out from the neighbor's window, and it's wafting into his window, this son's window.
What happens to that almost immediately? It dissipates.
All right.
How are you going to collect it and say that's what's actually going on?
Yeah.
I guarantee they're going to come up with 1,000,001 different reasons for smoke. I was smoking cigarette. It's my vape pen or whatever. Now, if it's close enough and in such concentration that there is evidence, like THC levels in the kid, I would imagine, or there's some way to collect smoke in the air, I don't know how you do that, then you would be able to do something if you have evidence that that's what it is. My saying, hey, I smell,
right, proving it is. This is a fascinating show. We've had some amazing questions.
Yeah, that's a weird question out of whatever.
Wow. Thank you, folks, because you make our lives interesting when we get questions like that. Let me backtrack a little bit. We wanted to talk about the secrets to buying and selling homes when you have a pet. And believe it or not, it is no secret that we love our pets. I've got 2 German Shepherds I absolutely love. But what may come as a surprise is how large a role they actually play in the home buying process. Pets are more important now than ever before. Approximately 70% of U.S. households have pets. That's the highest percentage over the past 30 years. And we're also spending more than ever on our furry friends. Americans spend an average of $1,163 a year on their pets. Nearly half of Americans would move for their pets if they didn't like the neighborhood. 43% of households say they would change their living situation for their pets. 68% say community animal policies influence where they chose to live. Chuck, do I remember you have a cat?
Yes.
Yeah. And Brad, I don't know. Do you have
two dogs?
Two dogs. Do you follow? Are you agreeing with these percentages that we've got here? Pretty much.
Yes. Yes, I am. Absolutely.
So if you're thinking of buying, so here's some of the things that pet owners look for: a fenced yard, animal washing station. I never heard that before. An animal washing station, easy to clean hardwood floors, and ample space for the pets to stretch out. And if you're thinking of adding a new furry friend, or if you already have, then you might want to consider just listening to some of these tips and ways to improve your house hunting procedures. Likewise, here are some things that you want to look for and do if you are selling. Keep the pet toys neat and in a box. That's imperative. Keep animal odors to a minimum. So if you're showing your house, you want to make sure that there are no odors that are wafting through the home. And by the way, candles or plug-ins simply clue in a buyer agent that there are owners that the owner is trying to cover up. It's better to make cookies before showing, if possible. Leave them on the table with some small bottles of water for the buyers and buyer agent to drink. If it's warm outside, use some chilled ice cubes in a bucket of water. Oh, we're seeing, by the way, the video. This is Brad's. Is that one of your doggies? Yeah.
That's actually my sister's dog that we are
got it
taking care of today.
If you want to see this, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That'll get you to the redirect video of the show. If possible, put pets in the car and take them for a ride during a showing. If you have cages, put them in a downstairs, out of the way location so your pets can be in the cages during the showings. Also, if animals need to be home, the one option is taking a picture of the room where the animals stay, put them in the room, but take a picture before the animals go in there, and then tape it up on the door with a picture of the room showing what the room looks like, so you're able to keep the door closed while the pets are in there. At all costs, try to eliminate pets running wild in a house. We've seen dogs try to run out, and if there's no other option in the pets have to be loose in the house, put up a note in the front door saying dog or cat in the house and is not locked up. That what lets the buyers know. So there's some tips for both buyers and for sellers on this. Let's go back to your questions. Amy wrote in and says her water heater is about to go at any time. It's making noises, Brad, and there's a small leak. And Amy has heard a lot about tankless water heaters. And I'm kind of curious about this myself.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons to tankless? Do they last longer? Are they expensive? What are your thoughts?
Well, tankless water heaters are expensive. Yes. They come in lots of different options, though. One of the things that I would just tell you right up front, particularly if you're going with an electric system, you need to make sure that the electric service in your house can handle it. They have a huge draw. Some people will purchase them and then find out that the cost to upgrade their electrical system to support the tankless water heater is cost prohibitive. The one good thing about them is they basically will create water as long as you're using it. So if you have multiple people taking showers at the same time, the heaters can keep up with them if they're sized correctly. Some people like to take shortcuts and they buy smaller units, and those aren't going to be able to support two people showering at the same time. So you do have to make sure you understand what the capacity of a tankless system is. You need to make sure that you have the electrical capacity if you go with the electric option, which is what I see a lot of. The gas systems are pretty straightforward. The installation, I think pretty much any plumber can still install them. There's not really any special requirements needed, but I do see a lot of people with tankless systems that then put recirculating pumps in the system in order to get the hot water to the areas where it's needed more quickly. So that recirculating pump can be something that is a little bit more expensive and a little bit more problematic because it has to be installed downstream. But otherwise, they look very much, they have the same pressure relief valves requirements, and they usually go in the same area where a current water heater might sit.
The cost for tankless, is it, yeah,
Probably
yeah,
double.
okay,
And then again, as long as that's assuming that you don't have to upgrade any of the electrical service, because then you may be triple and beyond.
got it. This one is for both of you. Andy wants to sell his home, plans on taking his flat screen TV with him. He's concerned that when he takes the mount off the wall, it will leave large holes where the lag bolts or the bolts go into the stud. So I don't know, Chuck, if you know what the rule of thumb, or Brett, if you know what the rule of thumb is for leaving holes behind when you move out of a home. But what should all sellers be concerned about legally first? If you leave a hole, what can happen? It could happen in a walkthrough, or if the buyer, which they should, do a walkthrough and they find it, great. If not, what happens down the road from a legal standpoint?
Well, you put damage in a property, you have to repair it. It's that simple. Getting the money can be the difficulty. Something like, it's just that simple. If you damage the place, you have to pay for it. Now, like I said, it's difficult to go after. So it would seem to be something that you would look for in the walkthrough prior to.
Right.
What do you run into? I mean, how often does that happen? I can't say as I've ever gotten a call on it.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Well, that's good to hear. Well, here's this. Andy is being proactive. And Brad, we've always told our sellers that if you pull the a bolt out and it's bigger than your pinky being able to go in there, typically that should be repaired. How do you say?
Well, I would say that's probably a pretty good rule of thumb. As far as the home inspectors themselves, that would all be cosmetic. That wouldn't even make a report for us. So, the bigger question that I would have is what was hanging there that required that large bolt? Was that something that the buyer thought that they were going to get, when they came in the house? If I saw something that big, what was it?
Again, that's a walkthrough issue. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just so you know, there are some big problems that are occurring these days with a variety of closings that we're hearing word of, where the Ring or Nest doorbells were presumed to have be left behind, but they're actually part of that seller's ecosystem. So the seller believes they go, the buyer thinks they're staying. I know somebody who is here at Remax Properties East who bought a home, and you would think she would know. The seller asked to take it, and the buyer, the person who works here, said, sure, go ahead. But when they took it off the door, it left a gaping hole. So it creates a whole series of these problems and I think the word I'm saying to all of our fellow agents out there is be mindful of both cameras, alarm systems, door monitors, especially in lieu of we see the holiday season. I got a feeling there are going to be a lot with the doorbells, the video doorbells being given out this year to friends and family as gifts, and which are also serve as great protection. So
yeah,
I know. Yeah, this is a tough one, and I don't know whether this answers Andy's question. I would tell you, if your pinky, and everybody's pinky is a different size, but if it fits in the hole, you need to consider plugging it up with joint compound. And some of that stuff is not that difficult. Just go to the store, get some quick drawing joint compound. The question is, do you paint it? That's where the real concern is. Should you paint it or try to match the paint? Because then you're going to see splotching, and that gets into a bigger problem. Then you got to paint the whole wall. So do you just cover it up? Not cover it, but make it look flush like it was new. I think the contract says it needs to be returned to its pre-existing state as a wall. So take that as it may. So we are out of time. I hope everybody's having a great holiday weekend. We've got 1 week left in this year, and we'll join you next week. We thank our good friends Chuck Crosby Law Offices, 499-6360. Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, and you can reach him at 844-411-TEAM. My thanks to my son, Greg, who has the morning off, and you can reach me to help you get your home ready to go on the market in 2022, or if you're looking to buy, we've got a lot of buyer agents who are ready to help you get out there and find your next dream home. You can reach me at 376-5483. Guys, thanks for being here. Folks, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday right here on News Radio 840 WHAS.